welcome, Mary. I'm so happy that you're able to join me on my podcast. I've been so looking forward to this interview. I just finished your book, Bodacious Woman, outrageously in charge of your life and loving it. And man, one, great read. Two, you've got a wonderful sense of humor. And also a fellow NSA member, friend that I've just recently met back in Phoenix. So Mary, thank you for joining me.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, you have to say the title of the book, Bodacious Woman, outrageously in charge of your life and loving it. Just want to give that right emphasis, And I think it's fantastic that as a man, you read it and you got so much out of it and it made you laugh. I often say, if I don't make you laugh, I just, it's not good enough. And, or you weren't trying, but either way.
Okay. Exactly. One of the two. So I will put this up on the screen so everybody can see this. And actually, I marked specific pages in here because there's some of the stories.
Your mileage may not come with all those sticky notes. Okay.
Exactly. So, Mary, give us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you came about in writing this book and becoming a speaker. That was terrible. A speaker. Tell us how you went from an engineer,
right?
Which I couldn't believe as I read this book that you were an engineer, to where you are today.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people say, Mary, how did you go from engineering school? I graduated from Virginia Tech in industrial engineering to becoming the head of corporate training for AOL when you just even started as an $8 an hour customer service rep at that company, and then now, of course, I have my own company and I'm mentoring and I'm coaching women entrepreneurs. And I always, here's the truth of it, really, is I had a detailed step-by-step plan that I executed without flaw. And if you believe that,
an engineer would.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and of course, I'm really only 35 years old and used to be a blonde. But here's the deal. None of us, I graduated from college like a lot of other people did. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I did know one thing. I know what I didn't want to do. That was for sure. I graduated with an engineering degree. I'm very proud of that. I earned every moment of that. But I also realized I didn't want to be an engineer after all of that. And it was something I could do, but it didn't really make my heart sing. And I thought, I want to find a career I loved. Although I didn't fill in the blank, I didn't know what that was. So I said, okay, I got to be practical. I got to do something to just, get a job, earn some money, and pay some bills and get started. So what I decided to do was say, well, I don't know what I want to do. So where do I want to live? So I grew up in a small town in Virginia, went to Virginia Tech, which is also in a small town in Virginia, and said, I'm going to go to the big city to me, which was around Washington, D.C. area. So I moved there, and I was just looking for a job, any job to pay the bills. I found an $8 customer service job at the really small computer company that was called Quantum Computer Services. And I thought I'd stay there 3 months, I get in the area, look around, and figure out something more. Well, I really liked the company. At least I liked the vibe. I'm 23 years old. I'm not looking for the big corporate thing. This was like a .com feeling of a company in the late 80s, before there was even that term. And I thought to myself, I really like this company. What can I do more here? Well, training looked like it was. Now, I was a customer service rep. The company was not growing. Fortunately, after a year, I hung out for a year, a position opened up and I went for it. And I was in competition with some other really qualified people. And, thankfully, I look back and go, I'm so grateful I got that opportunity and became a trainer for customer service reps, a job I had been doing for a year. That company, I thought I'd stay 3 months. As I said, I stayed 10 and a half years. They changed their name from Quantum Computer Services to AOL, became a global brand, went from about 120 employees to 12,000. And when I left 10 years later, a little over 10 years later, not only was it known as a global brand, and of course, really AOL brought the internet as we know it today to the masses, to everyone. And of course, people have taken it further from there. But to be part of that was an amazing experience. But I never would have predicted. But I realized if I want to create the career I want, let alone the life I want, I needed to get more bold, more gutsy. And that's where the word bodacious came into my life and became a personal rallying cry.
And you've also branded, you refer in your book, BOMOs.
BOMOs, yeah. Well, that stands for Bodacious Moment. So it's just a short version, and it was this idea that kind of came out of being bodacious and taking, being bold, taking some more risks, that type of thing. And there are moments that we all have, small, medium, and large, where we know we've now taken a risk. We ask someone, hey, what do you think of this idea? Might be a boss, might be a client. We reach out, we find it. Hey, is it, when you have your business of your own or you're in sales, you're constantly doing that. You're not sure where it's going to land. At first, it's really much more scary, or it's certainly uncomfortable. Those are BOMOs. It also could be someone walks into your office, or, it could be in a personal relationship. Someone shows up and says something you're not expecting, or brings a situation you're not, and you have a response that is like, all right, it is time to say, no, this is not going to happen this way, or this is what I think of it, and I'm not sure how that's going to land. Those are all BOMOs. So they can happen in our personal and our professional lives, small, medium, and large. But it was a way to go, you know what, we need to recognize those moments, because it's in those moments when I believe you are being bodacious. I like to say, we all have a little bodaciousness. It's just a matter if we want to recognize it, nurture it, and let it grow. And BOMOs are a part of recognizing that moment.
So a couple of things coming out. First, I have to ask this question, and I hope it doesn't embarrass you at all. But are you wearing pants today?
I don't know. I do know, but what would be better for people listening today and watching? Do you really want to know, or you want to hang on? I'll answer that in a few minutes. How about that? Just wait a little longer for that answer, okay? But I will say there have been moments where I did forget my pants and had to improvise, your specialty, in the moment. It was a BOMO of sorts.
It was a BOMO of sorts. So you want to share that now, or we'll share that story here in a bit?
All right. So you're right. It's one of those stories that even my father today, says, jokes about, did you remember your pants? And he still thinks it's hilarious that I would even share this story, not only in print, but, and I'm in front of groups. But here's what happened. So as I said, I was the head of corporate training for AOL. And there was this one moment where I was responsible for training 400 managers in our company to go through these 4 training modules in 4 months. The pressure was on. It was an aggressive time frame. It was an aggressive number of people, and it was the largest management training initiative to date for the company. Okay, and so I was kind of nervous. I was also just focused, and I wanted to make sure the training design really hit the mark. And so I set up a bunch of meetings with some executives from different parts of the company to get their input as I was finalizing the design. And again, I'm on this tight timeline to not only design, but then to implement. So there was this one morning in particular where I had about 3 back-to-back meetings. And I remember the night before going, all right, I got to make sure these go well. I was like, hopefully nobody will cancel. That was the other thing, because that was easy to do. And I decided, all right, here's what I'm going to do. To kind of calm my nerves, I'm going to get up a little bit extra early, and I'm going to work out before my first meeting at 9:00. And, just to chill out. So I get up that next morning. I put on my workout clothes. I put my work clothes in my bag, and I head to work because we had a fitness center at the bottom floor of this AOL building where I worked. So I work out. I'm feeling, okay, I'm glad I did this. I'm a little more relaxed. I go into the locker room to change. I get out of the shower. My towel's wrapped around me. My hair is dripping wet. And I realize I have a big, big problem. I have no pants. It's like, what am I going to do? I thought, on my mental checklist on the way to work, oh yeah, I got the pants, I got every piece. But the reality was those pants had not made it from the top of my bed into my bag. I thought, what am I going to do? I had 45 minutes until my first meeting. Now, I lived in the Washington, D.C. area. Anybody who lives in a metropolitan city knows you can't get anywhere in 45 minutes, let alone to change and come back. And I said, rescheduling any of these meetings would be like an act of God. So again, my tight deadline. So I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And all of a sudden, I got an idea. I'm just thankful. Whoop, it came across, and I held on to it, and I went, wait a minute. Let's see. I really, really want to do these meetings. And I said, all right, I'm going to go to these meetings with the only clothes I've got, which were these, of course, workout pants. We know what those workout pants look like. And this T-shirt that I had. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm wearing a T-shirt at the time. It was this gray T-shirt. It had a big XXL on it, kind of like a locker room jersey, and I thought, okay, there's that. And I had a lanyard, because I was working in a corporation, and the lanyard had a big ID, and it hung right, and I put it around my neck, and I'm like, this is like exactly, looks like what a coach would have with a whistle. And I said, I got this locker room looking jersey on. I said, I am the head of corporate training, like a coach. So I said, that's it. And I got dressed as best I could. Fortunately, I will say, a little caveat, all the women are wondering, like, how sweaty were you? It wasn't really that sweaty because I did a lighter workout versus a heavier one. But I did my hair, my makeup, I got all dried off, and I walked into that first meeting, and I said, all right, your head coach and trainer is here. Let's get started. And I kind of made a big kind of to-do about it. But then I went and I laughed. And then, I sat down and we started in our meeting. And I did that for the first, the second, and the third meeting. And I walked away with what I needed for that training design. Now, about noon, I looked at my schedule and I went, I can go home and back now. So I'm going to change my clothes. So I did that. And I'll tell you though, Peter, when I was, at home changing my clothes, I still felt a little stupid that I forgot my pants. But I also had a little smirk on my face. And I said, I didn't let that get a blocker in my day and become a barrier to what I wanted the most right then. And I thought to myself, Mary, that's just a little bit of bodaciousness. And so the most I got was a memorable laugh and a little teasing from one of my HR colleagues who said, you're really taking this casual dress code pretty seriously, aren't you, Mary? And I said, yes. But so this was not the norm to walk around in, short lycra pants and a T-shirt. But yet nobody stopped me and said you had to go home. So I thought that was funny too. So that's the story. I went to work without my pants, and I survived and got what I wanted.
I absolutely love that story, and the part that it was the improvisation, how you improv the whole thing, but you fully committed to the character, which really sold it. You didn't come in and go, head of corporate training, hey, I left you didn't make an excuse for it.
No.
You fully embraced the character, went in and came up with a great idea and knocked it out of the park. I mean,
it was truly a BOMO because I was not, what I exuded was not necessarily everything I was feeling inside. There's a big part of me feeling inside that was like, oh my God, I feel foolish. I feel kind of like an idiot here. And yet, in that moment, we're going to go in and I put on my little performance, kind of cap and just for that, whatever, how many seconds. And then I put on my, basically my director of training cap. And I went, all right, let's get down to business. And it's funny, it was a real lesson learned that it's almost like when you lead the conversation, when you say, you set the tone, and then you also, it's laughter, and then you direct it over, people follow. Most people will follow along. And, nobody not only got hurt, they're like, okay, this is funny. Ha ha. Okay, fine. We'll get down to business. And I think they're actually in a better mood. They all liked my training design. So I walked away with what I wanted. And I was like, great, we don't have to change a whole lot. So that was good.
So, but you said you felt a little stupid. So as you write in your book, the good little girl was in there just screaming at you while you were doing this, wasn't she?
Oh my gosh, yes. So one of the things that I say in the book, and it really is a phrase that came to me in my own journey, is being a good girl isn't good enough. And the interesting thing is, since I've over time shared about that whole thing of trying to be a good girl, there's some men who have said, well, I don't call it a good boy necessarily, but this idea of the expectation that you just go along. And it doesn't always serve you. Well, particularly as a female, we get a lot of little girls get the message, and a lot of women said they could relate. Oh, be a good girl, be nice, play fair, or just play nice, be a good girl, just be a good girl. That's a good girl. What happens? So, as kids and little, kids, you want to please. Your teacher can say that, your parents can say that, or any adult, and you go, okay. And so you get this, basically not only stay inside the lines, but what happens is that, and unfortunately, I learned this the most in, a marriage that didn't work out because and it was, you read the book, you'll find out that there was abuse and criticism, and then it escalated to verbal abuse, and then escalated to physical abuse. And I just thought, if I just love my husband enough, quote, the good girl, that he would feel better about himself and he wouldn't treat me this way. And unfortunately, it wasn't about my behavior. It was about his and how he thought about himself ultimately. But that was the big lesson for me, is that being a good girl wasn't good enough. I still want to be good, so to speak, in that I want to treat people fairly, but I want to treat people first and foremost with kindness and think the best of them first. Allow them the opportunity to prove them wrong. But the point is that I also added to the good girl this bodaciousness, this chutzpah, this leading my own thoughts in life. And if I need to get emotionally uncomfortable to do that, I learned that that's not only okay, it's about being responsible as well. So to me, it wasn't saying that I threw the good girl out. It was simply I added to her repertoire. And I think I got a lot of savvier and smarter. And of course, the word that came into my life is bodacious. So that's what I call it. I now just call it being bodacious.
Being bodacious. So I imagine when, and you write in the book, when people hear the word bodacious,
yeah, we
have a lot of different meanings running through our head. But there's one meaning that really stands out in most people's head, especially men, but most people. Yeah. And you addressed it. We're not talking tatas here, as you put it in the book.
That's right. Well, that's the funny thing. It is a memorable word. And that's why it stuck out to me. How it came into my life is in some of these, moments where I'm being bodacious about only in my career, my personal life. A colleague of mine gave me a book, and it had the word bodacious in the title. And that one word just jumped off of that cover. And I went, oh, I love that word because, and I looked it up in the dictionary, and you'll see words like bold, outstanding, remarkable, audacious, and you won't see the word tatas, but that's what some people say. And you go back to the movie Officer and a Gentleman, and oftentimes is where a lot of women think of it. But you know what tatas are. But the other thing is, more and more people say, yeah, that movie about it's like a surfer dude, bodacious, so it's interesting, the connotations, but really it's bold, outstanding, remarkable, audacious, those types of words. And so for me, my short version is positive gutsiness. So it's what I love about this word bodacious is it is about being bold and taking risk. It's also, though, it's about doing it in a positive way. It's interesting you use the word audacious. It doesn't quite have, it kind of has like taking the risk. But the thing with bodacious is, I say, you can say it fast, like bodacious, or you can say it slow, like bodacious, because you might be from the South and you just like to slow it down and pull it, drag it out. You cannot say bodacious without cracking a smile on somebody's face. And that's what I like about it. And I think, when I think about improv, your specialty, and I think about this thing of is that it just adds a little bit extra where I think it puts me with the other person in a slightly different mindset, And so I've always found that people remember the word, and I always encourage people to use it because we want things that are memorable, things that stick out. But it's an instant word that reminds me, like, yeah, am I truly being positive and gutsy? Am I outrageously in charge of my life and loving it right now? What else could I do or do I need to do right now?
Yeah, that's so well put. And I say, I hear the word, I hear you describe it, but you're describing something that's very scary to a lot of people. And it's a 4-letter word, and it's called risk.
Yes.
You're absolutely taking risks.
Right.
And that's the bodacious and the audacious,
right?
Is the ability to take a risk and accept the fact that you might fail.
Yeah.
But you still go through it.
Right. So I here's hopefully some comforting words to anyone who's going, all right, I'm going to do something. I'm going to take a risk. I haven't quite done this exactly like before. Maybe I've never done it at all. I really don't know how it's going to turn out. 2 words. Been in that boat. I will be in that boat in the future. So what? So what? That's what I say. So what? So, here's the thing. I go, and it's kind of funny, but it's true. So if you try something and it doesn't quite work out, so what? You tried. And to me, when I shifted my personal definition of failure, that started to help me a ton. And my definition is simply not trying. So if I try something that I really want to do, I really want to see happen, or I really want to see a particular result, and it doesn't quite work out, I go, but I tried. I actually took the initiative. And if I say nobody died, we're fine. Okay. So what can I learn? What can I do going forward? A lot of times, whenever we do something new, it's a risk. Just is.
Right.
And if we just kind of get to the numbers, and we think about, probabilities, and we think about statistics, things like that. First time you do anything new, probably not going to go exactly as planned. Probably not going to be the best, the very perfect outcome. So plan on it. Plan for it not to be the best. So what? And so, but you can still go for it. And, and I always do, okay, it's either going to be on some range, it was awful, nobody died. Okay, that's what you can comfort yourself in. Or you go, hey, that worked out pretty well. What can I do better next time? What would work out? What do I learn from this and take forward? That whole thing brings the risk and the fear down to size, and actually now makes it more, even playful. And I love your focus of improv and using yes and, because it goes, yes, I tried, and here's what I do different next time. Yes, that worked pretty well, but but yeah, it's easy to here's how I would change it. So I think that those 2 things really help. Really help. The yes and so what? What's next? Let's just
Exactly. And someone shared this with me. Last year at some point in time, and they took fail and made it into an acronym, which stands for First Attempt in Learning.
It's a great acronym. I'm far more accurate. Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see on my whiteboard back here, there in the back, I have it written out. So I see it
okay.
every day.
Yeah.
First attempt in learning, because if my mom's listening to this, I'm sorry. But my dad was not one of accepting failure and accepting mistakes. They were not deemed as first attempt in learning. It was just the absolute opposite. And it's taken me a very long time to fully embrace the fact of, I can fail. That's fine. I'm going to learn something from it. I'm just going to do it a little bit better next time, and take that information that I received. And doing so, and you all kind of you've got so much energy, you got so much passion, and you try so many cool different things. I'm going to invite myself to Thanksgiving dinner this year, because you guys have taken Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner to a whole new level.
Right.
And
I share some real stories. Of course, stories always help to illustrate anything. But I always go, "What? I don't need to make up stories, because I just need to live life and pay attention, because stuff happens to all of us, whether they happen to us or we try, right?" So one of the things is about risk. I think that helps is to have the mentality, I'm going to thrive on change. Things aren't going to go, and I'm going to try new things. And so trying new things that are not, don't have a whole lot of negative consequence as well. And it's a great way to kind of get more comfortable, and that almost like that risk muscle being more developed. So for particularly several years in a row with my family, it was, Thanksgiving, Christmas would come around, and it would be the same. You'd have the same, we have our traditions. Well, we always have turkey, or we always have stuffing, or we always have whatever it is. Like we grew up, you said, in a Greek family, right? I'm sure there's specific dishes, that you would have. And I appreciate those. And sometimes you can get stuck in a rut. And so I had suggested to my family this, for a couple of years, to say, let's try a whole new theme. So instead of our traditional meal, I said, one year we said, let's go Italian. So what would the Italians have for a holiday dinner? And frankly, we'd look it up and go, man, that's too difficult to make. But everything would be different in Italian. And just the fact that we shifted from what we normally would do to a different realm, then it not only was the food, now it was what's Italian music we could play. Another thing was, limoncello, which is, a lemon liqueur. You could have as an after dinner drink. Oh, let's add that to it. So all of a sudden, the whole energy around the gathering and it changed. And of course, it isn't just about the food and the drink. It's about getting together as a family and having a good time together, continuing those relationships, and making it a special moment. And you make it special in some ways by just changing it up, and everybody gets a different piece in ownership. So we did that one year. Another year we did Cuban. And so something that was really fun. So we're all, of course, exchanging presents. So one of the two of the funny things to me on that Cuban dinner that happened for a holiday dinner was, one, my brother unexpectedly brought Cuban cigars cigars for everybody. Now, I don't normally smoke cigars, neither do my sisters or my mom, but we were all smoking a cigar. And I have these pictures of us that are hilarious. Then the other thing that happened was one of the Christmas gifts that my mom gave me was the CDs of disco hits, right? Just a collection. Now I realize that's not Cuban, but we were all in the mood, having a good time. I unwrapped those CDs, put it in, and we just all started getting up and dancing. Now, this is not what we would normally do in my family. Okay. So it was just being in the moment and having a good time and, all dancing around. And I saw some pictures from that and I shared, but, and what I loved about that was we had not only a good time, but I remember those moments so fondly. And I think it was just about what was the risk? The risk was, let's do something different. Will everybody go along? Would everybody like it? So I kind of sold it, in terms of, let's do this. And, here's the different food, or here's what else could you bring? And to their credit, they went along. But I think that's just an easy example of how we can add change into our lives and make the idea of trying new things a whole lot more comfortable and enjoyable. Because, the change process, no matter what it is, and taking a risk as part of that change, it's going to continue on from uncomfortable or downright painful. I mean, there's just no way around it. I want to try to stay on this just uncomfortable, but quickly get some benefit and feel the upside of it. And so that was an example of just getting into that mode.
Yeah, you relate to it in the book as I believe it's shift and then change.
Shift and change, right?
Shift and change. And then on one page of the book, you had shift and change all the way big font. And you can't say shift change 5 times really quick before something slips.
That's right.
I tried.
Right. You tried. Well, yeah. Practice. Right. I like to say shift and change. Our lives are filled with shift and change, and it might slip out of shift and change, and it's true. And again, so what? So what? So, I think we live in a time where change is happening to us, external circumstances, whether it's the economy or whether it's something geopolitical or whether it's all kinds of things. It's just happening so quickly, and they will continue to, that we can't control, but we have to respond to. Then there's, what do we want to create in our lives and our businesses, and keep in responding to perhaps the marketplace changes, our clients changes, where if we're in the workplace, you really are overall in a company that's responding to an external change. So the point being is, I truly think that your ability to take risks more easily and often, to bounce back, to have the yes and perspective is not just a nice thing. I think it's more and more a critical strategy for not just surviving, but thriving. And so that to me is my continued motivation to not only continue to do it in my life, but get better and better at it, because there's always somewhere I can grow. That's for sure.
And you're correct about that. And as you talk about this, adapting in the workplace, and you've mentioned this comment earlier about being in the moment, being present.
Yeah.
But the thing that ties it all together is that positive energy, that positive attitude. There's things that out there within the organization you have no control over. And I'm tired of hearing people say, "Oh, they're so stupid up there in the C-suite. I would have done something different," and they fixate on it. And it's like, but you can't control that. You can make suggestions, but it's outside of your realm. Only worry about things that you can control, your team, your environment, and come in every day with that positive mental attitude, that passion for what you do. That will be the biggest gift that you can give. And those who have done it, oh, okay, I get it. But some people just can't get there.
Right. And I know sometimes, personality types are different, and there's chemistry. Sometimes it helps some personalities,
Right.
Oh, they're always happy, or easier. They bounce back. And others are can be, there's true chemical things that some people can be more prone to being depressive, and see things in a critical light. So there is some chemistry involved. I don't want to totally take that out. But here's the other thing. And here's the other thing. We get what we get, right? We get the personalities we get, and we have choice. It's a choice of what we want to focus in on. Like you're saying, instead of saying, focusing on what are the executives doing, what is my boss doing, what are even my coworkers are doing, it's what do I want to focus on more on. It doesn't mean we can completely ignore those other people or factors. I'm not saying that. I don't think you're saying that. No. It's a matter of where am I going to put really the lion's share or most of my focus. And, I guess I have 2 thoughts on this too, and to add, Peter. And one is, when I hear someone continually complain about other people and other situations, I think to myself, boy, that's a cop-out. That's easy. It is so easy. Yeah. It's like, okay, I want to, I just go, and I would go, and then the other would be, so I think that's just a cop-out, and so what are you going to do about it? Well, they should do this and this and this. Well, who knows what they're going to do? What are you going to do about your situation and how you're going to respond to it right now? That's what I, care. That's really the question. Because, so it's not only one, I think it's just a cop-out and it's easy. And some people go, oh, no, it isn't. All that stuff. We're like, hey, it's your life. You get to decide, how you're going to interpret things, how you're going to take things in, where you're going to focus on. Yeah, it is a cop-out. It is. You may not like hearing it, but I think it is. The other is, though, and here's the positive side that I go, why? Why do I want to focus in on things that I can control, do something about? Because frankly, I want more sanity in my life. Frankly, I just want to be happier. And I have a choice on my own happiness. And if my happiness is 100% dependent on what other people do, I will never be happy.
Be happy. Exactly.
And that's so that's my bigger motivation, But I realize it's not only easier to sometimes stay in the critical mode, because it's a little more work. But what's interesting, people, it's just a lot of work to stay positive or to see what's on, what's going right or what I'm going to focus on. I go, yeah, well, what's it getting? What's it getting for you not? So I guess I go, it's not as hard as you think. You just have to start. You make a choice and you start. If you're not used to thinking in those terms, it's like any habit. It takes effort and it takes continually catching yourself and in terms of your negative thoughts and going back or asking yourself that question, what can I do about this? How do I want to respond? If it's something simple as that. And over time, it becomes easier and more automatic. Every time we stop going to the gym, and I just recently resumed, so I'm in the middle of this, I go, dang, I wish I hadn't stopped because it's a lot easier to keep going than it is to stop and start again. So there's real effort at first, but the payoff, oh my gosh, the payoff is huge. Wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, people, we get into these, we want to do something and we take it on, but we don't continue it. It's like Simon Sinek once said that just because you attend a leadership conference doesn't make you a leader. It's something that you have to practice every single day to create that habit.
Right.
And we're all visually motivated, and we all need those reminders. And when I first got the concepts of improvisation, it's more than being funny and yes, and I would put Post-it notes and index cards up with just those two words around, just so it keep in front of me at all times. And today, when I wear French cuff shirts, I've got cufflinks that say yes, and. My wife wants to give me another one that says yes, dear, but that's a whole different story. A client of mine gave me a bracelet that I wear that says yes, and to keep it in front of me. And I know that you have something that you wear and that in your workshops and stuff that after they quote unquote graduate that they wear to help reinforce this. If you could share that.
Yeah. So let me tell you about that. So, in all this being bodacious, and there's different, terms sometimes people can use for the same kind of concept. Well, you talked about the visual cues, right? All right. So, if you're in the, at work and you're either getting anxious about something because you're going to take a risk, or, you're having to get up that positive gutsiness again. So here's what I suggest, and hopefully you can see this. All right, so let me see. So first of all, I'm going to take off my jacket here.
Uh-oh. Is this where we'll find if you're wearing pants?
Okay, here it is. I am wearing pants, okay? But you just have to believe me. All right, I'm wearing pants. But all right, so here from the... So Amy Cuddy did a great TEDx talk, right?
Right.
And that TEDx talk was all about if we physically change our, how we're standing or we're sitting, does that actually chemically change our bodies in a way to help us be more positive, or how does it impact our outlook? And so research shows that there are certain body positions that actually you can help yourself to have a more positive, gutsy outlook. And so one of them is called the Wonder Woman pose, the power pose. All right. Oftentimes. So here you go. So not only do I ask them to do the Wonder Woman pose, I got the cape. All right. So here's the cape. And so the way she talks about it is, if you stand here and you've got the Wonder Woman pose, okay, we're going to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. I can't do this. All right. And you stand like this, your shoulders are back, your hands on your hips, your legs are shoulder width apart. And you just look up or you look ahead in a positive way. I'm looking down right now, so I apologize for that. For 2 minutes. So you take your phone and you put it on a timer for 2 minutes. And there's something magical about 2 minutes. Seems like a short period of time, but it's actually a lot longer when you stand there in this pose. Now, some women say to me, like, Mary, I don't have I have a cubicle. I said, you know what? That's what bathroom stalls are for. Okay. So you literally put a smile on your face and you think about what you're about to do. Go into this meeting or make a presentation. Or knock down your microphone. And in 2 minutes, what happens is actually your testosterone increases, your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, decreases, and it therefore changes slightly your body chemistry to be a much more positive risk-taking outlook. Okay. So I had to make a choice, right? It starts with the choice. I want to feel more not just empowered. I want to feel like, oh, I can do this, take this risk. So, you do this for 2 minutes and you think about this thing you're about to embark on. And then, then you take off your cape, get out of the bathroom stall, and you go into that meeting. All right. And this was even before my pants story where I walked in and I, said, all right, your head coach and trainer is here. Let's get started. It's the same concept though. And so this idea of Wonder Woman continued to play into what I'm doing. Because again, I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs. And so, we can really identify with Wonder Woman. Whether we're we grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, every woman says, oh, I love Wonder Woman. She's great. So, and then, of course, the new Wonder Woman movie came out. We're all like, finally, that superhero got her own movie. It was a big hit, too, by the way. We thought that was really cool. And we all want to be, the actress, her name is what? Jill Gadot? If I've messed her up, I'm so sorry. But we all want to look like her, too. So anyway, we're going to feel like, the point being is this thing of, I can do it. And I can, I can continue to forge ahead and I'm and fearless. Well, so I actually when I do my workshop, I have one workshop in particular called Power Up Your Presentations. And it's all about, for women entrepreneurs, how do you construct a presentation that for presentations as a marketing strategy. So you're sharing about your expertise, you're giving some very practical takeaways, and then towards the end, you're doing a call to action for those who want more to be able to follow up with you. So it's a great marketing tool. So when they go through this at the end of the workshop, they get their own red cape. And it's amazing if the first time I did this, I thought, I think they'll really like this. That'll be kind of cute, right? Oh, I so underestimated, which just shows the power of symbol. So at the very end, I gave them each a certificate. It was called Red Cape Certified. They said, you are now, qualified to power up your presentations. You have what it takes. You have the training. You've also tested it out. And I do this thing where I give them the certificate. I put on their red cape right there. We take a picture and they all stand up straighter. They are beaming and they're owning it. The other thing that I've done is I have my own jewelry here. You had yours and I'll show it. And this is also Wonder Woman. All right. Mm-hmm. And I have a 6-month revenue accelerator program for women entrepreneurs. And this is all about small group experience, what you need to do, again, a strategic plan and tons of accountability and lots of in the moment problem solving to overall, what's the result we want is to increase the number of our clients and increase our revenue. Well, there's some Wonder Woman moments. There's some BOMOs that happen. So at the end of that 6-month experience, and many of them, repeat as well, they get this bracelet. And I wanted to give them something they could wear on an ongoing basis. I mean, let's face it, we're all wearing a red cape, but you get funky looks a lot of times when you're wearing that red cape all the time. And so this bracelet, like you wear your bracelet, becomes a reminder to every one of these women that not only can you feel that Wonder Woman, but I also add another meaning, which is I want you to be able to look at this at any time on your wrist and go, I no longer have to wonder if I have what it takes to build my business. I no longer wonder if I can create and generate more revenue. I no longer wonder if I can figure out, a problem. Certainly going to get help, certainly going to reach out, but I don't wonder how to get started and that it can get resolved and I can move forward. And that's really, really powerful. The other aspect I'll throw in, and this happens to be with this particular symbol, as you can see here, and you see the W goes up and down. That's kind of like how our businesses can go and sometimes our personal lives can go. They can go up and down. And I go, yeah, but so what? It's pretty good on one side, pretty good on the other. Keep with it. No one dip is devastating unless you decide to make it devastating. And if it's a major setback, then great. You got a good ways to go up and a lot of opportunity on the upside. And it's a decision. So I love having these symbols because they do mean something when you attach that symbol to a meaning. And I even had one of the gals who's in the program, and after she got her bracelet, literally within a couple of weeks, she came back and she said, Mary, I was out and I had a woman ask me about my bracelet. She noticed. She goes, oh, is that a Wonder Woman bracelet? She goes, yeah. And she goes, I think that's so cool. And she goes, well, I got it as a gift because, I'm in this women's accelerator program, but here's what it means. It means to me, I no longer wonder that I know I can build a successful business. And I thought to myself, how cool is that? She owns it. She has I attach that meaning, but she attached that meaning as well. And so I think there's power in that symbol. But again, these are all cues to the same idea. You have it with Yes And. I have it with Wonder Woman with Bodacious. I mean, I wrote another book called Live Like Your Nail Color, even if you have naked nails. There are metaphors everywhere. Just pick one and make it work for you.
And speaking of which, I see that you're not wearing wild berry today. You're going naked nails today.
Naked, yep. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. So I'm being, what I say is naked nails. Being your true, authentic self. Show it to the world. It's right here. All right, people. You haven't seen my toes though; they're colored silver. Just saying.
You start off the book, talk about wild berry and the nails and stuff.
Yeah, I do. Right.
And I went, maybe I should go get some nail polish and polish my nails wild berry.
I'm just saying, just show up, get a pedicure. Okay. Yeah. Do it so that it's in your shoes, your socks, Here's the funny thing. I did a survey of women about, do you do your fingernails more, your toenails more, or neither? And then why? What was the why? Here's an interesting fact. Interesting fact for me was that the majority of women are naked on their fingernails, but they paint their toenails. And when I ask them why, the overall response is it's for me. So a lot of people won't see it. Right. It might not be summertime and I have flip-flops on or, open-toed shoes. I do it for me. And I found that fascinating. I was like, you go, girl. You just doing that, right? So you could do it for you too, Peter. Okay. Yes, and you could.
Will you? Are you going to attend Influence in July?
So yes, those are listening. The National Speakers Association annual conference or convention is called Influence, and yes, I'm gonna, and we always have it in a warm place. It is July. It's hard to find a cold place in the United States, so I believe it's in Dallas, Texas this year. Enough that at some point you could have some sandals on, Peter. I'm just saying. All right.
I'm just saying that I may just go ahead and paint my toenails for the conference.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I have to, since I've now have this aired out there, I'll have to do it. I'll find you. I'll take off my shoes and go sing. It's just for me.
Okay. And so here's another, and it's just for me. And you could call that polish. I don't care what color it really is. You pick whatever name it came with it. We'll just get rid of that. Okay. And we'll call it the yes and. How about that?
Perfect.
Yes and polish.
Yes and polish. Bingo. Exactly.
Yes, and I'm wearing nail polish. That's what all the men are going to say. What's going on here, Peter? Yes, you're right. That's what you're seeing. Polish on my toes, and I'm loving it.
And loving it big time. Mary, I can't thank you enough. We could talk. I'm looking forward to seeing an influence and continue the conversation. We just met back in November in Phoenix, and had a great conversation. And remember Keith Harmeyer, guy who was staying up. I interviewed him. His episode went live about 2-3 weeks ago and had a great time. The three of us had a great time that night. I'm glad our paths crossed. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, and at least in July at Influence and catching up. And I've had so much fun. Thank you so very much for taking time out to spend with me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been a delight.